Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo. If you want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe. We've got more content coming out. It's almost football season. A lot more videos going to be going up. We do have our AP reaction video that I did earlier in the week. If you want to check that out, link will be in the description below. But as always, as we start the show, I've been having a good day. Went to the eye doctor. Everything's good. Still have to have glasses, of course, because, I can't be that lucky. That would never happen. But, Andrew, as always, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Hey, I'm with you. I've had glasses since, I think, 5th grade. And I also was actually, I had an appointment, but I went and picked up my sunglasses that came in today. So I, too, was at the eye doctor for a little bit. But no, it's been a good day. Of course, busy. We're back into full swing here in the beginning of the fall semester. And finishing up our first week here. So now it's been a fun, exciting week. Some new things going on, but, of course, ready to dive into the show.
And it will be an intriguing show. We had a lot happen earlier today. I feel like I've had a full day. I had class at 11, got done at 12:15, and then ran around and did. And it's like, I guess I did have school earlier today. That indeed did happen. But I want to get into our first main story, the big one, obviously happening earlier today. Deshaun Watson has officially been suspended 11 games, fined $5 million after settlement between the NFL and the NFL Players Association. This has been a long time coming. It started as a 6-game deal. The NFL wanted to press further. Roger Goodell was on the record saying that they were looking at maybe a full season. They decided to, I guess, kind of meet in the middle with 11 games here, just a game off from complete middle. But this is going to be intriguing. The suspension officially takes effect on August 30th when the NFL teams cut down to the roster limit of 53. And I already looked at the schedule. If you look at it, Deshaun Watson's first game back would be Sunday, December 4th, when the Browns go to Houston, Deshaun Watson's old team. So it is set up to be an intriguing game when he comes back. But I know we've talked about on the show Andrew Jacoby Brissett going to take over as the starting quarterback for the Browns. We've said they're not going to be very good, but I guess we could just talk about that a little bit more. Now that it goes 5 more games, looking at the schedule, do they even have any hope? Is there any hope for Cleveland this year?
No, and first, before I dive into the schedule, I'm disappointed in the NFL for coming to that agreement. Just to touch on that real quick, for Watson only to get 11 games, not even get a full season, and then only $5 million fine. If you think about it, the guy just got guaranteed $244 million for a season. He wasn't even guaranteed to play this year, and he's only getting $5 million there. And then again, only 11 games for what happened. And you look at Calvin Ridley. I get what he did is against the rules, but you're going to give a guy a full season for gambling on a couple games. I think it was a parlay he did. But then somehow Watson gets away with 11 games, and you're going to compare it. It's compared to other sports. You look at the Trevor Bauer situation. He's been out of baseball for 2 years, and you could argue what happened to Watson. Obviously none of them's good, but pretty close to Watson being worse. So I was disappointed in the NFL there. I thought they could have bargained a little better. I thought Watson in the bargaining here kind of comes out on top a little bit there. But no, to answer your question about the schedule, I think Cleveland is they're done. They're in trouble. Nothing really against Jacoby Brissett, but you look at the pieces around him. You look at Kareem Hunt demanding a trade once he's gone. You picture, just look at Carolina right now. Baker's going to go off in that first game against them. Jets is not an easy win anymore. Pittsburgh, we mentioned it last week when we were touching on their preseason, or on Sunday when we were touching on their preseason game. They're always a team that isn't an easy walkover win. So Cleveland could be in trouble, and you lose their first 2. Amari Cooper, there's no reason for him to stay. What's his incentive to stay? You're going to wait for a quarterback that hasn't played in over a year? So, no, I think they're in a whole bit of trouble, and we'll see what happens. But, no, I think, it'll be kind of funny to watch him come back against Houston, see how that crowd is. Obviously, Houston isn't supposed to do much this year, so we'll see how many people are showing up to Texans games at that point in the season with how bad they're supposed to be. But, they got hard games. You look at Tampa Bay, they're not beating Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. Buffalo, Josh Allen, not a chance. Miami's obviously supposed to be the better this year. They make the trade for Tyreek Hill. They're not going to win that game. Cincinnati, I'm not going to give them a chance. Baltimore, they're not going to win. New England, they're not like that. This outside the Jets to Falcons games, those are your 3 hopes, and maybe you steal the Jets game at home, but I'll pick Pittsburgh and Atlanta in the next two as well. So, you know what? Just for fun, I'll give them the New York game, and I'll say they're one in. I guess they get the bye before Week 11, so they'll have 10 games before, so they'll be 1-10 going into that Houston game.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely brutal. The other thing I want to touch on is the apology that wasn't really an apology, because I mean, Deshaun, he gives the statement, "I'm grateful that the process has ended. I apologize for any pain," and then literally 15 minutes later, comes out and says, "I'm sorry that I triggered people, but I still think I'm innocent." Like the absolute worst apology you could give. And then you had the Browns owner, you had the Haslams talking about, well, we believe everyone deserves a second chance and all this other stuff. And it's just like, this is completely a mess. Like, if you didn't think this could be even more of a disaster than it already was, let's just take it one more step.
Yeah, I apologize once again for any pain. Like, of course you cause pain. What do you mean, any pain? Like, take out the word any. Like, say for the pain I've caused. Like, don't try to act like you haven't caused any pain. Like, and again, to me, this whole situation's been a mess. We also talked about this was today's apology, right? Yeah, we talked about his apology last week before the preseason game when he could have apologized much quicker or much sooner than that when this all started, if it really did seem almost sincere. And we talked about that. He kind of threw that out right before the game, almost to try to gain some fans back and almost seen. But, and to your point, for coming out 15 minutes after you already released the apology to come out and say those words, this whole thing is a mess. And, it's a shame, for many different reasons. But, again, it's crazy to me that every serious issue in the NFL, it seems like they never get right. You look at the way Ray Rice situation went down. Everyone didn't like the way that one ended up. You look at all the other cases that's happened. It seems like they don't know how to handle this stuff. And it's a shame because it's been the same. It's not like you can even use this excuse. It's new ownership or new commissioner. Like, it's been the same person for so long. You think he learned at some point, but I don't know. I was disappointed with the outcome today. I thought he deserved more games than just 11. I thought he deserved at least one season, and I think that's maybe where NFL can learn from something. They should have the right to give out the suspension they want. You look at that. I think that's where they could have went different is when it all started. Instead of giving it to the court where they settle for 6 games like that, that should be the NFL's decision. They shouldn't have to appeal to get more games. It's your league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are you appealing for how many? That's your employee. I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense to me. The fact that he did not get a full season is just disappointing, like you said, Andrew. And I know that the Houston crowd is going to be rowdy about it. We even saw Jacksonville in the preseason was up in arms. I really want to see what happens when he goes to Pittsburgh. When he goes to some of those hostile environments, they're not going to be nice. They're not going to be friendly about it anyway. They're already rivals.
Yeah.
It is going to be a bad look for it's absolutely already a bad look, but it might get ugly in some of those games. I really wouldn't be surprised from a crowd point of view if it doesn't.
Yeah, no question. Let's pull the schedule back up and see who the rowdiest. They get both Pittsburgh games before. No, they'll be at Pittsburgh last game of the year. That could be crazy. Cincinnati is always fun, especially with them being good last year. Washington, they don't. They don't really. They maybe get half.
They might have more empty seats than fans by that point.
So maybe not. But luckily, he'll have to go. Or he's home against the Saints and home against the Ravens, so he'll avoid those because those would be 2 pretty crazy places. But no, I'm with you. It's gonna get crazy. You look at some of the stuff that's been going on in sports. I think I can't remember what was said, but you had Washington banned three fans for 5 years for an incident with them going back and forth with a player in last night's Nationals game. So this stuff's happening, and we've seen obviously a lot in the past happen too with fans. So you got to be careful here.
You absolutely have to be careful here. I want to touch on this that came out earlier today. The Big Ten media rights agreements have officially gone through. We talked about this last week that they were going to happen, and now, what a shocker, they're here. The Fox 11 a.m. window for us, 2:30 Central, NBC your primetime game with the additions of UCLA and USC in 2024. Big Ten's happy to be a coast-to-coast conference. Looking at some of the official media agreements they have, the Big Ten Network will maintain a strong position for Big Ten fans. They'll have a full slate of football, basketball, and Olympic sports. CBS will begin in 2023, 7 football games and regular season and the Big Ten title for men's basketball. And even now the women's basketball championship appearing on CBS for the first time ever. And the men's basketball tournament, semis, and championship will continue, which they've done for 25 years. However, every game will also be streamed on Paramount Plus, so that'll be nice to have streaming service if you're a fan of the Big Ten. You look at 2024, CBS will go from 7 to 15 football games, including an annual Black Friday game. That's usually Iowa and Nebraska, and that game, I don't know, for the last 3 or 4 years has been shafted to Big Ten Network or FS1. And then looking at Fox, they're going to keep Big Noon Kickoff, obviously, more basketball games, things like that. NBC will have 14 to 16 games each season, and a good chunk of them will be on Peacock. Everything will be on Peacock. If you have cable NBC, that's great, but I believe the way they have it set is every team will probably get a game on Peacock in football and a lot of your basketball as well. And then you look at the schedule for the Big Ten championship games. CBS will get it in 2024 and 2028, NBC in 2026, and Fox in 23, 25, 27, and 29. So, Andrew, with all the rigmarole around getting all these companies now involved, everyone but ESPN essentially now, what is your take on it now that we finally have the official plan for it?
It's something I said last time. And if you go back, CBS, what did you say, 7 games, I think it was? You look at Fox, I think you said single digits for them too, right?
Or
10 to 14.
Yeah, 10 or somewhere.
Yeah, it was basketball.
Yeah, 10 to 14 games.
Involving a Big Ten team. Yeah, so, but who has the most games? Did you notice that one? NBC.
Mm-hmm.
And we touched on it before. I'm going to pull this card again. They're going after, this is another way to go after Notre Dame with NBC's contract.
Yes.
So you figure, you get about 6 home games a year. There's 6 or 16 games if you're going to have that many for college football right there. And they're going to introduce Saturday night. Notre Dame plays a lot of Saturday night games too. So I'm telling you, I think, again, this is their way of they're going to try to steal Notre Dame at some point. I really believe that. But that's one take. I think it's a great deal for the Big Ten. Obviously, they get to go on multiple different channels now, kind of like, I'm not saying they're the SEC, but like they're getting to that, trying to get that level in terms of the TV package on multiple channels and everything. But no, I think it's crazy to think the ESPN's not a part of it, and they probably don't want to be. But you look at all these guys, Fox, CBS, all got involved. So, ESPN obviously loses that a little bit, and it'll be fun. Especially basketball. I think it'll give you a chance. Like you said, the women's basketball championships are going to be on there. So I think it's a good way to grow a lot of different sports. I think that's my takeaway too. Is you get a chance to advertise, or not really just advertise, but show a lot more sporting events and games that, like you said about that Nebraska game, is that gets shoved to the Big Ten Network a few times. So, no, great opportunity for college sports to become bigger, and I think very, very well done. This deal is insane, too. I think I was reading it's like the first deal, I think it's worth $1 billion, I think I read. So, another crazy number there. So, no, incredible job by all sides to kind of come together. And to me, it's kind of cool to see Fox, NBC, all of them become part of it. Because you always hear, the rivals, of course, they want everything on their channels. But I think at some point you realize, you know what, if we work together, it's going to be a benefit for everybody. And you got to realize you're not going to have every game. So
yeah, and I think the other thing is you got to realize at the end of the day, if you have an opportunity to, even though you're having to split amongst yourselves, you're trying to take down Disney and ABC, ESPN, you're going to have to come together at some point. Mm-hmm. The only thing that would worry me a little bit if I was a Big Ten fan is you're going to have a lot of streaming services to get some of this stuff. You're going to have Peacock, Paramount Plus, and maybe some combination of Fox Sports Go if they have their Big Ten Network Plus or something along those lines, which, that could add up to $30 at some point if you put everything together. But the other hand, I see it, people will pay for that anyway. Or if you really wanted to, antennas still exist. They're not the most expensive thing in the world.
Yeah. No, and they already have. You can watch Big Ten Network on an app and everything like Fox Sports Go. So they'll probably do that. And, since they are all Big Ten games, they'll have the right to put them on Big Ten Network, kind of like ESPN Plus. Just because it's not on or if it's on ESPN, you can still watch it on ESPN Plus and everything. So they'll probably go the similar package with that and everything. So, I think it would be fine. I did think 7 years was interesting. I think at the top it said it ends in 2030 or 2029, 2030 season. I thought that was usually when you see TV deals, you usually get them for like 15 years. So I did think that was kind of interesting too, is them kind of agreeing just for 7 years. It'll be an interesting time period. Kind of if things don't work out as well, I guess it gives everybody an opportunity not to kind of lock up the future there. So I did think the 7 years too was a little interesting just because you're used to seeing a lot more than that.
Yeah, keep in mind the ACC's runs till 2035. The SEC's is until 2034. So, yeah, I think the Big Ten's trying to play a little mind games here, trying to get in people's head, hey, if our deal ends, we can up it again and take some ACC teams and try to, once again, go another leg up on the SEC or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But I want to get to one tweet here from Jason Shear, the senior editor, publisher of WildcatAuthority.com for Arizona, saying, sources indicate that today's news has caused more concern within the Pac-12. The escalator clause specifically that allows for more money for the Big Ten with expansion and allows a possible late Big Ten window for ESPN. So once again, that possibility of here come maybe the Arizona schools, maybe an Oregon or Washington, maybe even Cal or Stanford you try to pull in, especially if you can get Notre Dame at another of their rivals in Stanford. Conference realignment, it never stops. I've said it way too many times on the show, and I'll keep saying it. We just get another example.
No, absolutely. We've talked about the Pac-12 being in trouble before, and again, them taking kind of this year to figure things out. I think we all agreed about that happening earlier in the year when they said nothing's going to change for this season, because everything happened so fast. But no, I think it's interesting for everything. And you kind of look at some of the comments there below. Time for Arizona to officially apply to the Big 12. I think that's kind of fun. I mean, I've never heard. Arizona is one of the few teams you haven't heard. I mean, obviously you heard Oregon trying to steal them, Oregon State coming over together, but Arizona is a team or a program you don't hear too often. So that'd be an interesting team if the Big 12 actually added them.
I mean, that you get one of the best basketball conferences, if not the best basketball conference, if you had the Arizonas.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And one final thing to get to before we get our weekly baseball recap. We got to talk about the NBA schedule. It's officially out. We've got all our games set up. We talked about this, I think, a little bit last week that some of the games were starting to be announced. We officially have our opening day. Congratulations, Andrew. You have the first game, I guess I should say, Philadelphia at Boston. The first game of the season, Tuesday, October 18th, 6:30 on TNT. And then the Lakers and the Warriors that night. You get the ring ceremony. You get everything there. So great matchups for the first day. Excited to see. We're 2 months away already.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's cool being the opening night. It's obviously in Boston with them making the NBA Finals last year, and then the Golden State Lakers. We touched on, I think Sunday is when it was leaked, and we talked about that being a possible fun game depending on the Lakers' health and whether LeBron, Davis, and all them play. And obviously the news last night with LeBron still saying he wants to trade Kyrie, and they're willing to give up a first round is what the report said. So we'll see maybe if the Lakers can add a little bit there in these next 2 months as well. But no, I mean, they did well with the opening night. I mean, obviously Sixers-Celtics, a historic rivalry there, so that'll be a fun one. And again, obviously LeBron and Curry, they always build that rivalry up. So no, a good opening night there for the NBA across the board, and TNT obviously gets the rights to that. Same week, I mean, you look at the Lakers' second game, LA versus LA. Bucks Sixers, another powerhouse, kind of top of the conference there game. So no, a lot of fun stuff, and you just look around the league and what they do there. So I mean, you got some interesting games too. Obviously, you go to the next opening night. Dallas Phoenix is always fun. That'll be a fun battle for opening one. Obviously, they get the primetime ESPN game. New York Memphis was interesting for the first primetime game on that night. I would say it was kind of an interesting game. But it's not going to intrigue a lot of people. But Orlando, Detroit, a lot of young guys in that game. Obviously, both teams having some high picks. I think that has potential to be a fun one to watch, just to see what some of those rookies are able to do in their first game. But no, it's going to be a good opening week. I think they have a lot of good games on there on tap.
They absolutely do. I'm excited to see it. Of course, Dallas Phoenix, right where we left off there in the playoffs. Always excited to see the first week. Just so many things happen. Just getting to see everyone back out there and getting to start with Inside the NBA. The first Inside the NBA of the season. Always great to see. Love what they do. I do want to jump to the Christmas Day games because always a big time for the NBA. What a shocker there. You look at Christmas Day, 11 a.m., Philadelphia going to New York, then LA Dallas at 1:30, Milwaukee Boston at 4, Memphis Golden State getting, of course, the primetime ABC game, and Phoenix and Denver. The question that people always ask, why in the world do the Knicks get a Christmas Day game when they are so terrible? We all know they deliver ratings, but could we get someone else, please?
Well, you just said it in the end there. One, it's ratings. Two, is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So that's why New York gets the game every year. I'll tell you what, sports world, the scheduling, it could be a cruel Christmas for me. Eagles, Cowboys, Saturday night, Christmas Eve. And then depending on how that game goes, now you're going to give me the New York rivalry with Sixers Knicks that open up Christmas morning on 11 a.m. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But obviously, people listening know me by now with how much I live and die by sports. So we'll see what happens there and how my Christmas goes based off of those two games. But, no, Lakers, Mavericks, again, another LeBron, Luka. We've heard that story for a while now. Bucks, Celtics, that's going to be a fun game. No, I mean, all honesty, Sixers, Knicks should, on paper, be the worst game of Christmas. I mean, maybe because it's in the Garden, New York shows up a little bit more. But, I mean, Sixers should have that game. But Phoenix, Denver, obviously the big thing with Denver is going to be their health. Obviously, they battled injuries throughout the years. We talked about Memphis Golden State. I mean, that's gonna be a fun game. Honestly, that's probably the game I'm looking forward to the most on Christmas. I mean, the Ja Morant story with Curry again. Obviously, some of the trash talking going on social media this offseason. I think that one's built to be the best one out of all of them on Christmas Day and the closest. Because I mean, at that point, obviously, you're gonna be worried about the Lakers' health. Dallas could run away with that game. Obviously, Luka's been hurt in the past too, so that's what we got to worry about. But, no, I think Bucks, Celtics, and Memphis Golden State become the two prime time for me there.
I mean, I'm just excited to see all these games. I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but the NBA on Christmas Day, there's something special about it, I guess I should say, where it's just waking up and seeing basketball on starting at 11 a.m. on a Sunday, which you're not really 100% used to, especially with the NFL competing head-to-head with it now. It's a little weird to see, and I mean the NFL will dominate the day with ratings as you'd expect. That's just how that works. And
that's what I was going to ask you. I'm going to actually look into this when this happens. I'm going to pull last year's ratings and compare it. I'm wondering how much will the NFL actually affect Christmas Day basketball. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to ask the average sports fan, they're going to say they'll watch the NFL over it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be. I mean, that's what. Luckily for me, again, the Eagles play Saturday night on Christmas Eve, so I don't have to worry about flipping through the Eagles game and those NBA games. But I mean, again, it's a Sunday, so you're gonna have I forget how many. I think there's 3 Christmas Eve games. So again, you're still, and then you're probably the normal Thursday night game. So you'll probably have 4 games out of the way. So you're probably looking at about 11 to 12 games still on that Sunday. Well, then you have the Monday night game. So you're probably looking at about 10 to 11 games on oh no, they're going full Christmas. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
that's surprising. I didn't realize they were doing that.
Yeah, this is the official NFL schedule they've got. They got 3 games on Christmas lined up pretty perfectly with how to battle the NBA out. Putting your noon game, Green Bay, Miami, that would be going up against, of course, Philly, New York, and LA, Dallas. You get a 3:30 game with Denver and the Rams. That goes perfectly up against Milwaukee, Boston, leading into Memphis, Golden State. And then Tampa Bay, Arizona starting at 7:20, knowing Memphis, Golden State will probably be more like 7:15 with how that works. They'll start about the same time. And then Phoenix, Denver is kind of the only one that gets its own window, being the 9:30 game.
So that's kind of crazy. I guess the NFL realized that's usually the NBA's day, so they went with a lot of Christmas Eve games.
I guess so.
I mean, I guess that's kind of cool that they allowed that. No, I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize everybody was basically playing on Christmas Eve. I mean,
I appreciate that. Kind of let the NBA. It's one of the few days they have. The NFL gets Thanksgiving. The NBA gets Christmas Day, and then let someone else. Usually, hockey gets New Year's Day with the Winter Classic, but even then, that goes up against college football.
Yeah, unfortunately, all these Christmas. I mean, outside you got what 2? I'm looking at this Christmas Eve schedule, and it just looks brutal. I mean, you got Raiders, Steelers. That's got potential depending on how Pittsburgh comes out. Eagles, Cowboys, obviously just a rivalry will make that fun. But San Fran, Washington, that's bad on paper. Baltimore, Atlanta, that's bad on paper. Carolina, Detroit, that's bad on paper. Cincinnati, New England, that's okay. I mean, that's better than the other ones. I mean, that should be a good game, especially in New England. Minnesota, New York, I mean, that's not intriguing. Kansas City, Seattle, but this year's Seattle team, Kansas City should blow them out. Tennessee, Houston, that's bad. Cleveland, New Orleans, I mean, we'll see what both those teams do once Watson comes back and how the Saints are. Obviously with Winston again, and then Buffalo, Chicago. That's a brutal Saturday lineup for a holiday special.
I guess that's the whole deal is, hey, we're going to put our 3 best games on Christmas Day and see how we match up against the NBA, what our ratings are. Because they did this last year, and I guess they want to do it again and test and see how much they can push the envelope, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, how about, too, though, your Saturday night, because obviously it says the Eagles 325, your Saturday night primetime game is only on NFL Network? Yeah. That's a mistake. I mean, who might have called NFL a mistake, but I guess.
You gotta get NFL Network, Andrew.
Well, no, that's fine, but put, like, I don't know, Cleveland Saints or Seattle, Kansas City. I mean, Mahomes will draw attention to NFL Network, but don't put arguably one of your best games on that day and the last game of the day, primetime, only on NFL Network.
I don't know.
What do I know?
That might be a, like, hey, we don't care. They know they're going to win because that's usually like the day of the Hawaii Bowl, and that would be their main competitor, I guess. It's maybe, I don't know. I guess they're trying to not get beat by It's a Wonderful Life on Saturday night. I got no idea what they're doing here.
I also completely forgot the Steelers changed their stadium name until looking at the schedule here.
Listen, it will always be Heinz Field.
Yeah, right?
It is one of the, just like how the Commanders will now always be the football team to me because that's just the funniest name you could give them. That's just never going to change.
No, they're just Washington to me at this point. Like, I'm not calling them the Commanders, the football. They're just Washington.
Well, to me, I would probably just call them Washington, but the football team is such a hilariously ridiculous name that they'll just be the football team now. It's just too funny to me.
I'll tell you the one I still struggle with the name change is Cleveland in baseball.
Yeah.
I cannot. And it's funny. I don't hate the Guardians as much as a lot of other people did. Like I don't mind that name, and I thought the video they released when they named it was cool and everything. But for some reason, that is like I've got I'm able to call Washington like the real Commanders and everything. But like whenever I talk about Cleveland, I don't. Maybe just because this is the first year where Washington's been gone for a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I always jump back to the Indians for whatever reason.
I think it's more of a year one kind of thing. Once we hear it enough times, you slowly change with it. I mean, even announcers still get caught up with it every once in a while. You'll hear it. Even for Washington, you'll hear, and the Redskins. Oh.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, don't say that word. Don't do that. But one final thing to get to, we were just talking about baseball, and, well, here we are looking at the baseball standings. The Yankees, I mean, they got a walk-off win last night, a walk-off grand slam to beat the Rays to continue their quest to not blow the 10-game lead they have in the AL East, trying to survive despite all their injuries with a 73-45 record. You look at second place, a tie between the Rays and the Blue Jays, each 10 games back from the Yankees. The Orioles hanging around 61-57. And how about this? Boston back to 59-59. Everyone 500 or better still in the AL East.
Yeah, don't sleep on Boston. I really think they can make some noise here down the stretch. I know a lot of people giving up on them, but I mean, hey, listen, they're no joke. They've been around the game obviously a while. Very historic team. They're a team that's going to make noise down the stretch in August and into September. I do want to point out, which we haven't had until this week. I think it's new. Correct me if I'm wrong. But all the way to the right, you got your playoff odds.
Yes.
And how about that? You have Toronto, who's in third, 84.5%. Tampa, who's in second, 57%. Baltimore's in fourth, only 4%. And then Boston, who's in last, has a 10% chance to make 10% better chance to make the playoffs than a team that's 2 games ahead of them currently in the standings.
Listen, you got to defy all odds
right?
if you're Baltimore. They got that 4% chance. The only division where every team has a 9.1% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, well, and again, it's just crazy. I mean, look at it. Boston is 30%, sorry, plus 30 or minus 30 run differential, and they're still that much better odds than Baltimore. It's funny.
I know. It really is crazy to see how that works. And then looking at the AL Central, which this division has gotten a lot more contending, I guess I'd say contentious, whatever word you want to use for it, Cleveland now sitting with that 1-game lead on Minnesota, starting to overcome the Twins, and the White Sox are just hanging back with 2.5 games separating them and the Guardians. And if you look there, their playoff differential, they're all almost right at 50-50. The odds makers, the statistics, every metric you have, they have no idea how to separate this AL Central race.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think you throw the names in a hat and pick who you want to win this one, and that includes Chicago White Sox. I don't think that just goes to Minnesota 1 game back. I think 3 games isn't that much with how many games to play. You're looking at them playing right now 119 games, so you still got about 40 left. So, I mean, again, I think that's plenty of time for them to come back, make up 3 games. I think here, what's odd, you look at Chicago, 30-31 at home, 31-27 away. You expect that to be the opposite. I'm going to give Cleveland a little bit of an edge just because they're able to play well on both sides, at home and on the road. While you look at Minnesota, they have a losing record on the road. Chicago's got a losing record at home. Minus 28 run differential overall, which is interesting too. So I think I give Cleveland a slight edge here. Obviously, the playoff odds do as well. But no, this is going to be, without question, the most fun division, most likely down the stretch, pending anything craziness and some of the other ones.
And then looking at the AL West, the battle is on. It's Houston versus really nobody for the division crown. Seattle is in the playoff race, obviously, but 11.5 games back. They're 99% chance not going to overcome the Astros there unless something really freaky happens. And then you got the Rangers, who, I mean, they just fired their manager. They're having their fire sale now.
I think they fired the GM, too.
They did. They fired their GM as well. You have the Angels. Mike Trout's coming back, but that doesn't mean anything when you're 25 games from the division. And the A's are just being the A's, 43-76. They're just there.
Well, I mean, speak to how good that number 1 team in the division is. I mean, I think it might be the only division, maybe the NL West when we get to it, but your second-place team has a 90.5% chance to make the playoffs, and you're 11.5 games back, basically with no chance to win your division. Like that just screams how incredible Houston's been playing this year.
It really does. I mean, also Seattle could win the AL Central right now. Like, when you look at records, they have the best record.
You look at it, and I mean they'd be leading that division, maybe the NL Central as well, maybe.
Not anymore. The Cardinals changed that today.
But, we'll get into them in a little bit, but Seattle's playing well. I think the playoff drought's finally going to come to an end.
I think so. It looks like it as of the moment, but we still got 40 games to get through. Well, speaking of the National League, looking at the NL East, the Mets still with that 4.5 game lead over the Braves, and the Phillies still sitting there 10.5 games out from the Mets, but the race feels like it's trying to tighten up a little bit. Each team you see here is 75% chance or greater to make the playoffs, and the NL East is still getting competitive. You have your 2 bottom feeder teams of the Nationals and the Marlins, and that seems like it should help, but I got no idea with that.
No, Braves win a big series against the Mets. Cause some noise, bring it back down to 4.5, give them a shot to win the division here down the stretch. Again, obviously some 40 games, probably a little over 40 games left for them as well. So they got a shot at the division there. Not a good week for the Phillies. Again, shut out in 4 of the 7 games they played this week. So not a good showing from them for trying to get back in a division race when Braves were trying to help them out a little bit. But big weekend for the Phillies again with the Mets coming up. We'll see how that goes. But no, Atlanta, they won the World Series last year. They've been in this position before, and the Mets have collapsed before. I mean, the Mets and the Braves, I think, are really going to make it pretty close here down the stretch. I think I don't know. I don't know. I want to lean towards the Mets still, just because DeGrom and Scherzer are at the top of that rotation. It's just filthy. But listen, Atlanta's here to stay. So I don't know. I feel like that I would not be surprised if they kind of overthrow the Mets a little bit.
I mean, you can never underestimate the power of the Mets. Something crazy always happens. I also want to get your opinion on it. We talked about this last week with fun local broadcaster battles. How about the Phillies putting the little sticker on for every time they make a good defensive play?
Listen, I absolutely love it, but you better be ready to back it up. And the sad part is, if something happens, I mean, it's not like maybe we don't know what goes behind doors. Maybe the team said something, but like I think that's the funny part is the broadcast doing it. So, like, I don't know, hypothetically, Phillies Mets this weekend. Say Phillies go out and make 4 errors in the first inning.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, that's become the biggest meme on social media.
Yes.
But it's not like the Phillies did anything. Like, it's the broadcast that's doing it.
Yeah.
It's NBC Sports who's doing it. So I think that's what's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Phillies, you gotta go out and back it up. And I mean, the defense has been a lot better. But no, I absolutely love it. I think it's funny, and of course, it's the broadcast going at it, so it's gonna be fun. I think it'd be even better if the Mets keep it like under the rug, but like Keith Hernandez comes back and does the series, and then they actually do go back and forth a little. Like obviously just fun stuff. Not like I'm not saying like actually go at it or something.
Don't have a fight in the booth.
That'd be really cool if like Keith Hernandez like keeps it under the rug. He comes out, does the games this weekend, and they have fun with it. And, I'm like, he doesn't have to do all of them. I think he just comes back, say set for Saturday's doubleheader or something like that or something. I think it'd be pretty cool.
I'm just excited to see broadcast teams have beef.
Right.
We don't see this often. I mean, baseball would be the sport to do it. You do 162 games, you're bound to have an issue with something. But I've never seen this before in baseball, at least. I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it. But looking at the NL Central, the Cardinals today officially got their nice sweep. I believe they got their sweep, or at least they've got 3 in a row with Colorado. Everything going well there. Albert Pujols hits home run number 690. Hooray is all I can say as a Cardinals fan. And the Brewers 3 games behind, but they split with the Dodgers. They took a good series, took advantage of Craig Kimbrell being, Kimbrell. Yeah. He had a few collapses late, was able to hold on to one, not able to hold on to the other. And the Cubs, Reds, and Pirates all just sitting there, just continuing to not really do anything. They're in rebuilding mode. What else do you expect them to do? So, like we've said, the Cardinals eventually overtaking the Brewers, and it has happened.
Yeah. No, again, I picked the Cardinals to still win that game, win that division even without Juan Soto. I think that still stands true. I mean, they're just playing good baseball. They're always a good second half team, and you're going to continue to see it here as the season continues. Again, I think Milwaukee's going to struggle down the stretch. They'll probably just miss the playoffs, is my guess, with Atlanta, Phillies, and probably I think the Padres will sneak. We'll get that spot, so we'll see what happens. But no, I think this division will continue to go down the stretch. It's just a matter if the Brewers can make up some of that ground there.
And then looking at the NL West, the Dodgers continuing to do what they do. They're 81-36. No one's touching them right now. The Padres are 16.5 games behind them. The Giants 22 games behind that. Only a 5% chance for the Giants. So there's somehow technically more hope for them than the Orioles if you look at the analysis here, I guess is the best way to put it. But not the best situation to be. But, I mean, what can you do? It's the Dodgers.
Right. What's more impressive, having a plus 200 run differential or a minus 200 run differential?
I don't know. You got to be really bad to have a minus 200. I feel like you have to try to lose to have a minus 200.
Well, that's the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe we need more Dodgers Nationals games to see the true talent gap in the MLB.
I'd watch it, don't we?
Yeah, don't worry. We get at least one guaranteed viewer. Yeah. But looking at the wild card standings, the Mariners have a 1.5 game lead for that first wild card spot in the AL, and Tampa Bay and Toronto tied for second. So I believe the way that would work is one would get second, one would get third, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Andrew. But
yeah, so this year they took away the extra game for seeding, so it's just going to come down to who wins the tiebreaker. So that's just head to head. Obviously, those two being division opponents have a lot of games in hand against each other. So I'm going to guess the way ESPN has it right now. If the season ended today, Tampa wins the tiebreaker is my guess since they're at the top there. But, it's going to be a fun battle. You get Seattle, Tampa. That'd be an interesting 3-game series. Seattle, Tampa Bay is the first 2 wild cards go head-to-head, and then Toronto gets the worst divisional opponent, which would be
the Guardians.
The Guardians.
The Guardians.
Which would also be an interesting series. So, no, I do. Again, I'm going to say it. Do not count Boston out. 4 games is not a lot with 40 games left in the year. They're starting to win a couple more games here down the stretch. So I would not be surprised to see Boston make some noise, especially when 2 of the teams they're chasing are divisional opponents. So not only are they going to – and this goes for Baltimore too. That's what's kind of fun about the way how good that division's been. Not only are you going to have a lot of games left with your divisional opponents, but they're going to be battling each other. Like Tampa's gonna have to play Toronto, so there's gonna be losses there. Baltimore's gonna have to play Toronto. That's what's gonna make that run fun. And again, I want Seattle's playoff drought to end. Don't get me wrong, but I also do think it would be pretty cool if you somehow got 4 AL East teams in the postseason. Like that'd be kind of wild.
There's a lot of fun possibilities here. There's almost no bad possibilities in the American League unless you really don't want to see some of these teams win, or the Twins and White Sox both make it.
No,
but even then, that would be incredible.
No, that would. Maybe Rangers make now. I'm just kidding.
Rangers going to make a run now. They're going to win.
New manager.
They're going to win 10 in a row somehow and get right back in it. But you look at the National League, the Braves have a 6.5 game lead for that first wild card spot. The Phillies a half-game lead sitting there with that number 2 position. And the Padres currently with the third card. Brewers are a game and a half back. Giants are 6 games out. And then the Diamondbacks and Marlins have extremely slim chances of even doing that.
Yeah, an interesting week here for the NL. Atlanta gained some more ground. You look at all these top teams in the NL, and I mean, a lot of them struggled. You look at Milwaukee 5-5, Padres 5-5, Giants 6-4, Phillies 6-4. So Braves able to take some games or gain some ground there in the last 10. Really solidify a nice position there for the playoffs, obviously, with them being 6.5 up on the Padres. So they're about 8 games up on the Brewers and Giants for a playoff spot. So obviously Atlanta in very good position there. Some people thought they'd drop off a little bit with a couple injuries, but they seem to be performing just fine without their guys. Phillies, again, they struggled the last week, makes it closer. But it's going to be a good battle. I mean, we mentioned the AL East and the fun in the AL, but here you got a lot of mixture of teams. I mean, Giants 6 games might be a little stretched, but I'm not going to throw them out the window with some of the pitching they got. And Carlos Rodon and Logan Webb at the top of that rotation can win you some games. So I think there's still some slim hope there for San Francisco if they can get hot. And they won 4 straight, but then they dropped 2 straight. So, I mean, it's the 500. I mean, basically what to call them. What the record is, 500 team there. So we'll see what happens, but I think the NL won't have much shakeup. I think you're going to see it stay with the 3 teams that are positioned right there in the playoffs.
All righty. Well, that sounds good to me.
Well, yeah, create another divisional game in that first round. Phillies, Atlanta, Philadelphia, another fun rivalry there. 3-game set for that wild card opening weekend. So, no, it's going to create some fun baseball.
There absolutely is going to be some fun baseball. And that will do it for our show this evening. For Andrew Santangelo, I'm Cade Kennedy. If you liked what you heard tonight, be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at NWTV7, or you can even check out our TikTok page, our NWTV7 TikTok, or you can subscribe to our The Guys Who Stare at Stats YouTube channel, or our new show that is an old show, I guess I should say, a reboot of it. The Bottom of the Barrel begins again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Josh Hind and I reviewing bad movies, watching horrible movies, making fun of them the whole time. That begins again tomorrow. So if you want to see that, be sure check in here, twitch.tv/NWTV7, 8 o'clock Central Time. You're not going to want to miss it. It is a surprise movie. We will find out tomorrow, right when it starts, what we're watching. So that's going to be great to see. But until then, have a great night, everybody.